Hi, welcome back to Miss B's art class. Today we're going to do an art activity inspired by the artwork of a famous African-American artist. Her name was Alma Woodsy Thomas. She was born in 1891. She lived until 86 years old. She passed away in 1978. One of my favorite things about this particular artist is that she did some of the largest amounts of her artwork later in her life. She was a teacher for a long time. She was a kindergarten teacher first. She later became an art teacher, and she didn't retire from teaching until 69 years old, and from 69 all the way until 86. So those last 17 years of her life, she made a ton of artwork. She's an abstract artist. She's a painter. And she is particularly famous for using bright colors and her artwork being inspired by nature. One other quick thing I wanted to tell you about her is that one of her artworks in 2015, this one called Resurrection, it was painted in 1966, but it was purchased in 2015 when Barack Obama was president, and they hung it in the dining room of the White House. It is and was the first piece of artwork by an African-American female artist to be publicly displayed in the White House. 2015, it was this painting called Resurrection. I love this painting. Okay, so actually on that note, let me show you a few examples, other examples of her work. This is called The Eclipse, as in, maybe you could guess it, the eclipse of the sun. This one's called Iris, Tulips, Jonquils, and Crocuses, which are all names of flowers. If you look at it and say the eclipse too, maybe it doesn't look completely realistic, and you know what? If you're thinking that, you are not wrong. She was an abstract artist, which means that you take something from the real world and then you break it into more simple forms. So for instance, this looks, I think, a little more realistic, the rings around the sun. This one, I think, looks a little less realistic, but when I think of it like I am a bird flying in the sky, looking down below at fields of flowers, then suddenly I think, that I can see it, absolutely. It's a field of all these different kinds of flowers. I'll show you a couple other ones. This one was called Light Blue Nursery. This is one of my favorites. Autumn leaves fluttering in the breeze. Love that. Starry Night and the Astronauts. And I'll show you one last one. White Daisy's Rhapsody. Okay, so these are all paintings by Alma Woodsy Thomas. They are all abstract. They all use various bright colors. They are related to nature. And the other thing that I didn't say yet, but here, if I back up a second, you can really see it, is she's also famous for using strokes. So she's a painter. These are all painted on brush strokes. But for today's art activity, I'm not gonna make a painting and I'm not gonna make a drawing, although you could recreate her artwork as a painting or a drawing if you wanted to. But I like to recreate and be inspired by her artwork using collage, which collage is paper that you cut and then you glue. So actually I made two collages inspired by her work. The first one, let me move this one out of the way, is my interpretation of, I'll turn it like that, the eclipse. So this is a collage that I made using cut paper and glue onto a larger background of paper, inspired by this painting. Doesn't look completely like the painting, and that's just fine. That's why we say it's inspired by. I think it's important for artists to do their own interpretation. The other inspired by collage that I did was this one. of the irises, tulips, jonquils, and crocuses. And this was my collage interpretation, my inspired piece, thanks to Alma Thomas's painting. So again, looks similar, but not the same, and so that is just fine. Okay, so for today's art activity, I am going to create a collage inspired by the Resurrection, which was the painting that was bought and hung in the White House in 2015. So here are the materials that you need for this project. You for sure need scissors. You for sure need some kind of adhesive, white glue or a glue stick. I always prefer white glue, so that's what I'm using. I'm gonna set that over to the side. If you want, you can use a ruler, you can use a pencil, you can use an eraser. I'm going to choose not to use these things. So no eraser, no pencil, no ruler for me, and also no glue stick. That's because I like to just sort of cut and glue the paper without being worried about perfectly straight lines. So the other materials that you'll need a larger background paper. Today I'm using a 12-inch by 12-inch square of white paper as my background, and then I have many smaller pieces of colors to choose from. Basically, in fact, if I move this, every color of the rainbow: red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple, and black up off the screen. Okay, so I'm gonna start with the center of this painting. And, you know, even though these are brush strokes, they kind of look like circles, the little green spot in the very center especially, but you can really cut whatever shapes you want to be your interpretation, your inspired artwork. And so I'm going to cut a slightly larger circle for my center. Her circle in the center isn't that large, although she has what appears to me to be light green and then dark green. So I'm gonna just do one larger circle in the center. I'm gonna set my scrap over to the side for now. And then it sort of looks like blues and purples in the next ring. And so I think I'm going to cut out squares of the blue and maybe different size, either squares or rectangles of the purple, and lay those around. Phew, okay, that looks fantastic. So just to finish up the last few little pieces, I'll cut some shorter yellow pieces, a few slightly longer yellow pieces, and we'll just fill in that last little bit of space. And the nice thing about collage for me is that you don't need to be perfect and you don't need to be exact. You can create shapes that you like and fill them in with a project like this as you see fit. And I really like the pattern of the different shapes. I do think this project looks really nice when you can create variety. So I used pretty much only squares and rectangles, but there is a variety of colors, and then there's a variety of sizes and of thickness. Some are thin, some are thicker, some are sort of a medium size, and I think that that visual variety adds a lot of interest to your art piece. I hope you enjoyed today's lesson. Thank you so much.